That's good beer. Hey
What you
guys.
drinking? Oh shit!
um
Fucked
hey
up the
guys,
opening.
I'm drinking Detour IPA. That's 9.5% alcohol by volume.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here with a cup of tea, like an old lady.
Nice.
Also, I'm Trip, and
And
this is Lark.
yes. And we are starting today's episode off really, really well. Um
Really well.
well,
I
first
can't see any problem so far.
yeah, and the best part is that I once again found out that I was recording incorrectly and that Blue Yeti microphones are not, you don't talk into the top of them, you talk into the side of them. So feel free to make fun of me because Trip already has. And so
Yeah.
hopefully the audio will be even better from now on. It's little baby
Honestly,
steps.
I haven't noticed a difference. Like the audio, your audio wasn't bad before. It's just I find it hilarious that you were talking into the top of the microphone.
I know, and I've already explained this, but I was thinking of it. It's like a dynamic microphone, and
Like
I'm
one of the
just dumb.
smaller.
Yeah, one of the smaller, like
Yeah.
handheld ones, like a microphone you see at like weddings and concerts and stuff like that. But so yeah, any of you that have a Blue Yeti, make sure you go online, just look up how to use it if you don't know how to use it. Because I've had this microphone for probably 6 years and never bothered to look up how to actually use it. Because
I just got mine like
fuck
last year, which
manuals.
is when I started.
Fuck manuals. Who does that? Who reads manuals? So what's been going on with you lately? Because I mean, we got a lot of stuff we can talk about. This is our 2016 games of the year, games that we felt like were really good.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and
Just a month too late, but that just gave us time to
to really
really,
think about it.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, I'm getting ready for this baby. That's fun. What have you been up to?
I have really been up to almost nothing. The only thing I've really been up to is actually related to one of the games on the list, which I really think will surprise you and anybody at home who watches my videos and knows things that I typically like and don't like.
Watch
So I'm
Dogs
really
too.
looking forward to that. And I told you this earlier, but it's kind of cheating because we're talking about games that released in 2016, but I think you'll warm up to my choice here. But
Okay.
other than that, I've mostly just been working on videos. I'm writing an article, writing a couple articles actually. One of them is on don't want to spoil anything, but one of them is on American Dad, one of my actually one of my favorite cartoons right
Okay.
now. And I don't know if I'm the only one who's noticed this, but I feel like slowly but surely that show is getting a bit more, maybe not popular, but more well regarded than Family Guy.
Interesting.
And that's definitely been my opinion since like the middle of high school. So I'm kind of gonna, because if you guys don't know, I write for a website called Comics Verse, so we always talk about cartoons and video games and stuff. So I figured I just kind of explore what separates these two shows. Why are these two shows, which are created by the same person and accomplish kind of the same things, end up with such, in my opinion, differences in quality? So yeah, so basically what I've been up to answer your question is a bunch of lying around, watching cartoons, playing video games, living the early 20s dream,
Yeah.
I would say.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I never really got into that show only because I thought of it as just a Family Guy clone.
That's what everybody thinks. That's what I thought at first. That is what I thought at first. Now it is honestly, now people are going to laugh at me for saying this, but before I say this, I want to preface this by saying I haven't even said it yet. I want to preface this by saying that I don't actually think American Dad is the best show of all time. I think it's a great show, but I don't think it's the best show of all time. There are shows that I watch that I would say are objectively better. But in terms of just what appeals to me on a personal level, it might actually be my favorite show.
Wow.
Just in general.
That's crazy, man. Well,
it is crazy. But
I might have to try
love
it out
that
then.
show.
I might have to try it out then. Because, see, I wouldn't watch Bob's Burgers for the longest time because I thought it would be like Archer. I don't know why. Just because H. John Benjamin does the voice
I thought
for
it
the
would
main
be,
character.
and a lot of people thought it would be like Family Guy, which is why the first season didn't do too well until I think the second half of it when people started warming up. But I've been through a lot of situations like that, like Fallout. I thought it was just going to be Oblivion with guns, BioShock. And I thought it was just gonna be, you know, like a sci-fi Call of Duty, which is totally wrong.
No.
Or like more like a not sci-fi Call of Duty, like an Art Deco Halo or something. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But
Yeah.
my point is, there's been a lot of points in my life, and I think all of our lives, when it comes to entertainment, where we take one glance at something and think, or maybe just experience it briefly and think it's just going to be this other thing with a couple different bells and whistles, just like a knockoff.
Right.
And then we get into it and realize, wow, what the fuck was wrong with me? So that's how I was with American Dad. It's how I was with Bob's Burgers. And yeah, I really fucking love American Dad.
I may have to check it out then.
We can talk about that another time. But it's,
Sure.
in my opinion, it's better than Family Guy in every single way, and does what Family Guy seems to be trying to do, but actually succeeds in it. Because I hate everybody in Family Guy. I don't know about you.
Yeah, we kind of talked.
characters.
You've described Bob's Burgers as Family Guy, where people like the family actually cares about each other, and I think
And
that's
American
true.
Dad is like a much more cynical version of that. Like
Okay.
it's like it's that same thing where it's like Family Guy, but the family actually has chemistry, but the characters are still terrible, irredeemable assholes, but they're endearing.
Okay.
And like
That's
you
fair.
kind of start to like them, and they enjoy each other's company and the chaos they cause with one another. And I just find it so entertaining seeing all the crazy crap they put each other through.
So it's kind of like It's Always Sunny plus Family Guy.
That's what I was thinking in my head. But if I were to say that, then that would give people a totally different
Vibe. Just a
vibe. Because
dysfunctional.
it's not that vibe at all. It's like,
But
it's
the
like-
dysfunctionality of the family is what I'm talking about. Like that they're
yeah, it's
dysfunctional,
like
but they're still
so
a group.
dysfunctional that it becomes functional again. Like they just thrive off of chaos. Like there's one scene, okay, and we'll get to the actual episode after this, but just this one scene encapsulates everything I love about American Dad. So Roger, the alien, gets this weird, crazy crush on the daughter Haley, who normally he hates.
Sure.
It ends up with him going crazy and shooting her, and the mother Francine runs to Stan, who's doing his own crazy scheme, and she's freaking out like, oh my god, Roger shot Haley. And then Stan's like, so what, you shot me before, I shoot you, everybody shoots everyone, it's how we communicate in this family.
All right.
She just stops for a second and she's like, I guess you're right. Like, that's just how we are.
Well, I'm gonna have to check it out, but we're not talking about American Dad now. I'm just kidding. This is our best of 2016 episode. So
Indeed.
I'm actually gonna go ahead and say I'm changing one of my choices. I think I already told you this. Yeah, because okay, so everyone knows by this point, if you've been following the show, that I'm a huge Witcher 3 fan to unhealthy proportions. I mean, I have a Witcher tattoo. That's how much I like the Witcher series. Specifically, Witcher 3 was what sold me on it. I won't admit that I'm kind of a poser and I've only played Witcher 3 and I have a Witcher tattoo, but I like the game that much. So I was going to say Blood and Wine was one of my picks because we're going to do 3 picks each of us. And that was going to be one of my picks, but I was like, technically the base game came out, did not come out in 2016. And there's other games that I could talk about that were, full games that came out, standalone games, you know what I mean? So it's hard to think. I guess I go from bottom to top if I can.
All right, you're ranking them because I'm not even ranking mine.
I think I've got it. I think number 3 for me would be. I think number 3 for me is going to be Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, which is surprising because I just ordered it in my head as we're doing this episode, and putting the other 2 where I want them to be. But Uncharted is a series that I've really, really loved for a long time. I remember when Uncharted 2 came out and reading all the reviews. I didn't actually have a PlayStation 3 at the time. And I was really jealous because it's like, this game looks amazing. And it's, it's Indiana Jones in video game form. What's not to love about that, right? For anyone that's played the series, you completely understand. And with 4, I guess I'll just talk about the things that I really liked about it. Have you played it by any chance?
I've played bits of it. My old roommate had it, and we played. I got a sense of the game and the gameplay. I didn't really experience much of the story though.
Okay, well, I guess I'll just say it like this. I started out. I was playing the game on hard, so it did detract slightly from the experience because anyone that's played those games, I've looked online at forums, and I'm not the only one who thinks this. But the game, when difficulty, like when you ramp up the difficulty, it's not like they change the parameters. The enemies just become bullet sponges, which is
I
kind
hate
of
that.
annoying.
That is the worst way to do difficulty.
There were some sections that took me like 2 hours to complete a 5 to 10 minute section, and that was. I wish I could just play it on normal, because I mean, you want that extra challenge. Like when I play games, I want that extra challenge. If it's something I'm familiar with, if it's a genre I know. With Uncharted 4, so anyways, I'm just putting that out there. That was my experience, was on hard. So everything that follows is based off that. I guess to describe this game in a word, it would be cinematic. And it really is just, it just feels like a long form story that's like a long form interactive story. And I mean, I could talk for hours about the visuals and the art design. And, you know, to me, the strength of the series is all the varied locations that you go to, right? And then the payoffs, like every game, especially 2 and 3, like you spend the whole game, you know, discussing these, like the characters always bring up these places like Shambhala and I forget what the place was Shambhala in 2, like Shangri-La was in 2 and then Shambhala was in 3. I can't remember the exact locations, but like 2 was like that lost paradise and then 3 was like the desert palace that was hidden in the sands. And I'm trying to think of what 4's was, but anyways, there was a location that you go to, and it was awesome, and you know, they build it up really well. So like the visuals is a huge part of the game. You travel from location to location. Like pretty sure it was Morocco. Like they showed the gameplay footage a couple years ago of them driving down the streets through Morocco, and it was just mind-boggling. It kind of reminded me of the Adventures of Tintin. So the visuals were great. The story was really good. Some people didn't like, spoilers if you haven't played the game, some people didn't like the fact that they brought in the brother character, but I thought that it fit perfectly, and it had a really different tone compared to the other 3 games. And I'm just remembering now that the final destination is like the pirate island, which was just beautiful, like breathtaking. Like you'd explore, you'd find, I can't remember the city name again, but it was like basically a pirate hideout of all the most notorious pirates, and it was just massive. The set pieces were bigger than usual, and the environments became super interactive, where it was no longer like platforming and then combat and then platforming and combat. They kind of combined them. So there was like a mission when you first come into the flooded city where you're having to duck behind cover, go underwater, and take out like 30 different guys. And some of them are really heavily armored, and so you kind of have to pick them off one by one. Like you can't just go in guns blazing for sure on hard. So I think that they evolved the series in a meaningful way. I mean, it wasn't like, no game is perfect, so I can't really point out the flaws, the things I didn't like. You know, the things I didn't like were when the difficulty just became bullet sponging. I hated that. And like I said, there were a few sections that were just stupid, like the one where you have to fight 2 heavily armored guys in like a decrepit ship. I was on there for like 2 hours. But for the most part, the experience was great. It was a wonderful way to kind of tie up the series. I don't want to give away the ending, but it was a good ending. And just overall, it was exactly what I wanted from the game, and it kind of gave me a different, kind of, like I said, it was a more, I hate to use the term serious, but I can't think of any other word, like a more mature version of the character who isn't just quipping all the time. Like, you're kind of like, oh shit, this is, you're actually a little bit worried about him at points in the game, because you're like, is he gonna make it? I don't, like, you're not sure all the characters are gonna make it out of the situation.
When you name your game A Thief's End, it definitely adds a bit of gravity to the tone.
Right. Absolutely. So that would be what I would say. And of course, you know, I could go on and on, but those are the main things: the visuals, the storytelling, and the kind of like the fusion of combat and platforming. I thought was excellent. Not to mention the set pieces, because of course those are great. What about you? What's your? You said no particular order, so I guess you can just go.
Well, as you were talking, actually, and I was, you know, absorbing what you were saying, I was also kind of maneuvering them in my head. So I think I have an order going from 3 to 1. Okay. And before I actually say what's on my list, I want to make it clear that Lark and I made a rule that we can't have the same stuff on each other's lists. Yeah. And Lark actually came up with his first.
Because I'm a bitch.
So a lot of the ones that are on his, both in terms of current and upcoming games, would have also been on mine. So okay. Don't like, to you folks watching at home, don't assume that if I pick something, it means I'm picking it instead of something that's on Lark's list because I also love all those games too. But anyway, so first one would be surprise, surprise, Watch Dogs 2.
Ooh.
Now, this isn't the big surprise one. That's number one, actually. But yeah, in terms of Watch Dogs 2, I mean, you guys know my aggressive feelings toward Ubisoft as a company. I've written articles on it. I've made videos. I've ranted on the podcast about it. But when they do something right, I mean, I'm not going to pretend they did something wrong. I mean, Watch Dogs 2, I'm not entirely sure what other people think about the game. I've seen the reviews, but you know that the reviews are always different from what the reviews are always different from what's on, you know, people's minds on the internet. But I really enjoyed the hell out of that game. And I have some problems with it, but the problems I had were mostly nitpicks and mostly things that resulted in me just wanting more of the game. Mm-hmm. So I guess what I really want to say about the game is that Ubisoft really made some simple changes to their formula that made the game fun and enjoyable. Imagine that. Like, for example, they've gotten rid of a lot of the bloat, a lot of the useless feeling bloat that's in a lot of their open world games like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry with the watchtowers and the, you know, all of like the giant sea of collectibles and all of the repeating scenarios and stuff that don't really add anything to the gameplay. Yeah, tailing missions. Yeah. And they really focused on a streamlined, and I mean that in a good way, not in the, you know, corporate PR bullshit way, a genuinely streamlined, focused experience with a solid, consistent tone, a tone that's completely different from the first game.
Can I just jump in?
You can even say the game had a single tone, but yeah, sure.
I was just going to say, for the tone, I completely agree. That was the first thing that's, like, when I really started to watch gameplay videos, and I think Super Bunny Hop was the first video that I saw that I was like, wow, this game's getting good press. The tone, I started playing it, it was immediately obvious that this was not going for like the gritty, dark tone of the first one with Aiden Pierce, I think.
Right, yeah.
It was like a much more like lighthearted, playful, tongue-in-cheek, like fuck the man type of tone. And it worked so well.
It was self-aware. It was fun-loving. It was lighthearted. It knew that we already have enough gritty, gray, dark, brooding protagonists and characters, and it gave us something that was just fun. And the characters were great. They all started off like they were going to be just stereotypes, but each of them gets fleshed out more and more and more, and you start to actually really like them as the story goes on. You know, Marcus, I mean, the voice actor alone sold the character Marcus for me. That he was a great voice actor. Like, I don't normally notice that in games unless the voice acting is either really, really bad, like Elder Scrolls games, or really, really good. But he was a great voice actor, and he really made the character even more charming. And I noticed that especially because it's difficult to make a character like Marcus well, especially in a video game. Because if you make a character who's, you know, wisecracking, kind of sarcastic, anti-establishment, it can easily fall into the tropes and archetypes that come off as corny and obnoxious. But the writers and the actor playing the role always treaded that line perfectly, where it always came off as self-aware, always came off as playful. When he's being an asshole, the other characters call him out on it, just like you should. So it doesn't feel like, you know, he's getting away with, you know, being a wisecracking whatever all the time. It feels like he's an actual person. You grow to like him more and more. And I'm just talking about the characters, not even the gameplay, which is leagues and bounds both better than the first one and also more in line with what the game is about, which is stealth and hacking, not a third person shooter with you know, technological elements to it. It's I played the game, since we're talking about difficulty levels, I played the game on the highest difficulty level possible, realistic. Wow. And it wasn't, I'm very bad at games. It wasn't that bad. It was mostly, it literally made the game so like one or two shots kills you instantly, one or two shots kills the enemy instantly. Great way to do difficulty, in my opinion. That is the exact opposite of what you were describing in Uncharted 4. That is the best way to do it, in my opinion. So I played it on that, and so I'm not sure if the normal difficulty is like this, but I've also heard other people say even at normal difficulty, Marcus has very little health, and it doesn't force you to do stealth, which is another thing I like about the open world, open-ended nature of the game design, because you have so many options for what you want to do. It's insane. Sometimes you can't even tell if it was kind of like playing Dishonored, but even more so in some ways, which is weird because this is an open world game. You would expect like, a Dishonored, a more close-ended.
It forces problem solving
to have more options. Yeah, but in Watch Dogs 2, sometimes I couldn't even tell if the developers intended for me to solve some of these problems the way I was solving them. It got to that point where there was just so many different ways to complete your objective. And I normally went for the stealth route. I didn't even carry a real gun with me most of the time. I just had my stun gun, and I think I had a real pistol just in case. But I mostly just used the stun gun at first. And then as I got more hacking skills, I literally would just open up my laptop. You'd see Marcus like sit crisscross in an alleyway or something, send out a drone or my RC car, and just go into the entire level, do everything without any input from the actual character, and just get out. Nobody even knew I was in there.
See, but that's
it's so
the
satisfying.
beauty of it. Yeah.
That is the beauty of it. That's what, like, I questioned after the first game, and I didn't dislike the first game. A lot of people disliked it. I thought it was just fine. But I questioned after the first game, how would you actually make an open world hacking game? Can you really do that? Like, based on the basic standards of what people expect from an open world game, how do you merge that with hacking? Because I would have expected, a game about hacking to be a more, linear game where it's just a guy sitting at his computer, doing stuff, and the results are happening miles away. But Watch Dogs 2 showed me exactly how you would do that. And it showed me that in really creative, cool, interesting ways. And I guess the only reason this isn't higher on my list, if we're talking about little nitpicks, is it's actually what's going to be in my next article, the one I'm working on right now, not the American Dad one, is I actually think they may have strayed a bit too much from their generic open world Ubisoft formula. Now, that might be a bit of a weird statement, but what I mean by that is the game it's the type of game where once you're done with all the main objectives, you're done with the game. There's nothing else to do, really. There's no mini games, no distractions, it's not like Red Dead Redemption, which I think is the perfect balance between a great story and limitless open world playability, where you have bounty hunting missions, you have a ton of different mini games spread across the world, you have collectibles, hunting stuff to do, you have all this crap that just seemingly never ends. This is a game where once you're done, you're just completely done. And I guess it really is a nitpick what I'm saying, but I really would have liked for Ubisoft to have found that balance, because I don't think that as many people hate the Ubisoft formula as we claim to. And you know what I'm talking about when I say the Ubisoft formula.
Yeah, no,
right?
we've talked about this at length.
I think and I don't mean to speak for others, but I think what a lot of people hate isn't the Ubisoft formula itself, it's their reliance on it in lieu of anything else.
Well, if I can jump in, I have one thing I would like to say other than what you've said. And that the one thing that I absolutely liked the problem with the Ubisoft formula is that it's content for the sake of content. It's content that doesn't take you anywhere, right? You tail somebody, how does that really improve anything? You get some XP, you finish a mission, whatever. I don't know. Like maybe some gold, some shit like that. But with Watch Dogs 2, all of your little interactions, all the missions go to gaining you supporters, and then you get a better hacking ability. It all ties in together, and you're like, okay, this makes sense. If I pull off a cool mission, I'm going to gain followers, which means I'm going to gain more processing power, which means I'm going to be able to do cooler things. So
Right.
it
So
ties in together. It doesn't feel like disparate things that are just like, oh, it doesn't feel so video gamey because it's not like, oh, I can go do this, I can go climb this tower and unlock a map. You know, it's some activity that ties back into your core gameplay, which is hacking.
right. So imagine that scenario you just listed, but with some added procedural content as icing on the cake, not replacing what's already there, like what previous Ubisoft games have done. But let's say, and I mentioned this in my latest video and the article I'm writing.
Plug.
Like, yeah, it's less a plug and more like if anybody has actually seen the video or read the article, they don't think I'm just repeating myself. I just want people to let people know them. Yeah. But anyway, like imagine if while you're eavesdropping on someone, like listening to their phone conversation, which is always fun to do in that game. Yeah. There's so many different things. But anyway, imagine if you're listening to that and you hear a corrupt CEO talking about how he's ripping people off, or you hear, some other thing, and that generates a random quest where you can go to that guy's mansion, which is just, randomly picked out of one of the, upscale neighborhoods in the game. You go to that guy's mansion, hack into his computer, and then rewire that money to the people he's ripping off. Imagine if you could eavesdrop on gang members who are about to go do a robbery or a gangbang or something, and you can follow them and interfere with that in some way, either for good or ill. Imagine if there were just enough of those different scenarios in the game peppered in throughout the already solid pre-made scripted experience that you get way more playability and it doesn't get old too fast.
That's interesting. And you know what I was thinking? You know what I was thinking of, though? When you were giving the example of the CEO, the corrupt CEO, I was like, what if you could turn over that information to different sources or to different people? So you could have like factions and alliances. Like you could either turn it over to the feds, or you could turn it over to private industry, or you could turn it over to like a TMZ
they did have like a really small faction system in the game. Not really one that's a traditional faction system, but more like one of my favorite things to do in the game is pit different gangs against each other, because the game will understand who belongs to which faction and more reinforcements will come and the cops will get involved. So it would be cool if you could like take DedSec in some slightly different directions and get different supporters from different groups and see how, people react to that. That would be cool. That might be like maybe in Watch Dogs 4 when they finally get the balance I'm talking about down for
3.
Will hopefully be 3.
Yeah.
Because even I have to acknowledge that one thing at a time. But that does sound friggin' awesome.
Okay. Well, is that pretty much all you wanted to say for that one?
Yeah, it was a great game, and check it out. I mean, support Ubisoft when they do something right.
Sure.
Encourage the right behavior,
No, you're right. And disliking a publisher for their decisions doesn't mean you have to boycott them entirely. I mean, you just say, I'm not going to, like, really all you should be boycotting is pre-orders. And I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, but that's basically what it is. It's like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on you. Shame on me. You get what I'm saying. My point is, whatever. Moving on. My second favorite game of 2016 is I'm doing drum roll. It's Dishonored 2 actually. And I was kind of struggling with how to place these, but Dishonored 2 was a game that I kind of bought on a whim. I mean, I liked the first Dishonored a lot. I wasn't really planning on getting Dishonored because I don't even know why, but I wasn't. And one day I got home from work early and I was like, oh, well, I don't have shit to do. And this thing's on the digital store. So I went ahead and purchased it and loved it. And the thing that I really want to highlight with this game, the thing that really impressed me was, first of all, the aesthetic. Like, it's not Bethesda. Who does it? Arcane Studios. Arcane Studios did the first Dishonored, and then they did this one as well. And they really, really, really create a unique aesthetic, which some people have called whale punk. I don't know what you want to call it.
It's I don't know if you can make a name for it exactly, but I know the guy who designs the atmosphere for the Dishonored games is the guy who worked on I know Half-Life 2, maybe also Half-Life 1, but he really has this style which I fucking adore, where he takes kind of these almost like communist themes a bit, and in the design, which you saw a lot in Half-Life 2, and then kind of merges them with a lot of different stuff you wouldn't expect to go together. Like in the first game, it was that mixed with like New England, mixed with some old England,
right?
And just anachronistic technology merged in there,
right.
And he has this really amazing style that I just I'm probably saying the same thing you want to say, so I'll just let you have.
Oh no,
here, but I adore the style. And it's exactly what I look for in a game's atmosphere. So I have nothing but good stuff to say about everything regarding the atmosphere in the Dishonored universe.
Well, even down to like the menus, I noticed, like, or the map system. It's not like a 3D map. It's literally like a print map, and it looks like it would fit within that world. So I think that the attention to detail and just the uniform aesthetic design really, really, really helps you, makes you feel like you're living in that world when you're playing the game. So that's the first thing that I really liked about the game. A lot of people kind of harped on the story, and to me, I mean, yeah, it was okay. I mean, I wanted to kill people. I wanted to get revenge, so it worked well. Player choice in this game was, to me, it was really meaningful and It's impactful. I don't know what the right word is. It was important. It was cool. You had a lot of different choices on not only how you take out enemies, but which character you play. That's within the first 15 minutes of the game. You get to decide, do you play with Corvo or Emily, right? And then you get to decide another major thing, which I'll just spoil right now. You know, if you haven't played the game, skip ahead maybe 15 seconds. You get to decide whether...
I haven't played the game, so...
I'm just going to spoil it for you. It's too late.
Ah, shit!
You get to decide whether or not you have magic abilities. And I don't know what the repercussions are for that. But essentially, there's this character called the Outsider. I think that's his name.
Oh, yeah. I played the first game, so I know the Outsider, but yeah.
You have a choice to basically reject his offer of magic, which I don't know what the full story ramifications would be for that, which is really, really cool. And you can play it. There's like a play style where you just play like no magic, just steal and stealth. And then another important choice is well, I mean, of course, the different perks. What else am I thinking of? There's one more. Oh, high chaos and low chaos. Whether or not you kill a lot of enemies. Now, me being the man that I am, I went through as Corvo, who's an old man, and just fucked everybody up. And I didn't do it like guns blazing. I was playing like the first couple days I was playing it. My wife came down and watched me play, and I was sneaking around the city, and I was going up and killing people. I'm just like, yeah. And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, I'm killing people. She's like, why are you so excited? I'm like, because it's like the thrill of, you know, sneaking up on somebody. And it's not like a run and gun shooter. And a lot of people, the main criticisms for the combat in the game that I've heard is that the melee combat is not that great, which I can see how it's not. It's really not. I mean, your projectile combat, like, my playstyle kind of changed as the game went on. I got certain magical abilities that I really liked. I liked shadow vision. I liked obviously teleport, whatever that is, blink. That's whatever they call it is really important, because you can go different places and take different routes. And I explored as much as I could and got as many bone charms and runes as I could. But there's nothing more exciting than like figuring out how to trap your prey, getting them, and then taking them out without anybody else noticing. Now, towards the last level of the game, dude, I had run out of crossbow bolts, because that was my other favorite thing, is to perch up and just like take out enemies from a distance. But by the end of the game, I kind of run out of crossbow bolts. So I just basically...
I just want to quickly interject and say I will be forwarding this conversation to the feds in case... just for caution's sake.
Well, sure. That's probably a good thing. No, but what I'm saying is they put you in... To me, I cared enough about it because I was like, oh, fuck this. Like, they set the story up really quickly and really well, and you have a lot of people that you want to get back at, and they give you the tools to do it, and it's in a fun and like challenging way. And like I said, player choice is a big thing. And then I guess that kind of rolled into those were my 2 points, is that they give you really broad choices on, you know, who to play with. high or low chaos, whether or not you're going to use magic, things like that. And then, down to, do you want to turn into a rat and scurry through this hole and then come out on the other side? Or do you want to use a crossbow bolt and take out somebody from really, half a couple hundred yards away? Or do you want to get up close and personal? Or do you want to go in guns blazing? So every single map, I was really methodical with the way that I did it. And it was just kind of like just slowly taking over the map. And I don't know. I mean, I think I would assume that if you played some other play styles, you really couldn't take out everybody in the level, because there are certain situations where you kind of just have to circumvent people entirely. Like they'll have a couple guards in the same spot. And I don't know of any way to do it like non-lethally. So I enjoyed just killing everybody. And I will tell you one moment that really, and I'm, again, spoilers, so I'm sorry, dude. This is just the way it is. One thing that really surprised me, and this was towards the end of the game, where I had this rule where I wasn't killing civilians, because I was like, I'm a badass murderer, but I have my limits. I'm not going to just kill random civilians. I'm only going after guards. I don't care if they have families. They're working with the bad guys, whatever.
Jesus.
But there's one level where you're at this person's, I won't say who, you're at this person's estate, and there's a whole bunch of like dignitaries and things like that, politicians, and uppity ups. And I'm exploring the level, and I find this courtyard, and there's 2 dead servants. And then there's like 3 of these, uppity ups talking and laughing and drinking. And there's a whole bunch of, like, these people are, basically, the dead people are leaning up against these huge targets with all these knives, and, like, they were torching them for fun. And I was just like, I literally remember, like, playing dude. So, from that point on, it was pretty early in the level. From that point on, I killed every single aristocrat in that level. I killed those 3, like, immediately. And then I only let the servants and maids live. And then everybody else was done, because I was like, no, all right, you're done.
For me, when it comes to like full-on role-playing games, so like not Dishonored, but I'll get to Dishonored in a second. But when it comes to like full-on role-playing games, I tend to play in 2 ways. Either logically, what makes the most sense and what's pragmatic. And, when I'm feeling in a different mood, I'll, role play something like a different character from myself, like either a crazy person or like a super good guy or whatever.
Wait. But, did you just say you'll play a different character from yourself? Oh, you mean from yourself? No, like, I thought you meant as in, I'll play one of my different personalities.
I do what would make most sense for me to do in a given situation.
So, as Psychotrip.
Okay.
Yeah, I got what
But when it comes to a game like Dishonored, where you have choices, but it's like a more preset story with a more preset character, I tend to stick to the doing what makes most sense for the scenario thing. Like, I really can't, unless I'm just dicking around, I can't really commit to playing high chaos Dishonored, because like, especially Dishonored, the first one at least, because, for example, like, I can't assume that all of these guards deserve a blade to the neck. Like, a lot of them are just people trying to keep the city safe. They can't all be corrupt. A lot of them are just have mouths to feed. That's logistically impossible. But anyway.
I know. I was playing an anti-hero. I didn't care who I killed.
That's not even an anti-hero at that point. That's just that's just a villain. But yeah, like, and also in a lot of cases, like the people who I really did want to kill, the actual targets who, like, were terrible, disgusting, despicable people, at least in the first game, oftentimes the non-lethal way of taking them out was way worse than killing them.
It's the same way in this game, and I did that for
ruining their reputation, like beyond all, like to the point where they wish they were dead, or that thing where you let that guy kidnap that woman you're supposed to kill, even though, again, she is evil and despicable and terrible. Like, Jesus Christ, she'd probably be better off dead in that scenario. Like,
you know what I did?
I can't ask for more than that.
You know what I did to ruin all these characters?
What?
I went around and put Trump signs in their front yard.
Now see, that right there is just too far. That is the bridge too far.
And it's getting
their
political.
reputations.
Devil May Play gets political.
Please, God, no. That's the last thing I need.
That's all we're going to say.
I don't talk on Twitter that much anymore because I can't get myself
too much.
out of it. Yeah.
If you say anything, you're saying too much. If you don't say anything, you're not saying enough. All right, so that's Dishonored 2. It's great. It's got a wonderful
from serial
world.
killing to politics.
I mean,
I think this was a good conversation.
I just want to say that I kind of villains always have more fun, man. Sometimes, like, I had no like mistakes about it. I knew this dude was bad, and that's why I went through and played as Corvo, because I felt like Emily would not be so jaded and would not have such a bad past and would not want to kill all these people. But as Corvo, hell yeah, Corvo is like, fuck this shit, I'm getting my daughter. So again, spoilers. So he just killed everybody, and that's what I wanted to do. I mean, just let me kill people in a whale punk world. That's all I want to do. Nobody, please don't call the FBI on me. I'm just kidding. All right, so what's your second pick? Enough of Dishonored 2 and my serial killing tendencies.
All right, so my second pick is actually World of Warcraft Legion. Now, a lot of you guys know that I am a big World of Warcraft fan. I love, really. Now you call me a nerd. Anyway, so I love World of Warcraft. I've loved it since middle school. I love the world itself. I love the atmosphere. I love the art style. Even though people say it's cartoony, you know what? It's supposed to be. It's lighthearted. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also a big critic of the game, as I am a critic of most things I like. And I really feel like Legion, I don't want to say fixed everything, because it didn't fix everything, but Legion was a step in the right direction towards what I have wanted from this game since I started playing it.
Okay.
And in the ways that they changed the game, and they changed a lot of this game,
mm-hmm.
but almost paradoxically, in the ways they have changed the game, they've brought it back to the original intent and vision, I think. Because when it comes to World of Warcraft, my issues with it are often slightly different from most people's issues with it. I feel like over the years, World of Warcraft got bogged down mechanically by a ton of bloat, a ton of stuff that didn't add anything to the experience. It became more about min-maxing and math and illogical progression, and less about character expression, less about adventure, less about exploration, less about actually combat and playing the game and making strategies within the game itself, not going to a website and looking at calculations and rotations and all of that stuff. Even though I've come to slightly enjoy that too, I consider that more Stockholm syndrome than something I should genuinely enjoy as much as I do. And I really think that World of Warcraft Legion, in the way it changed things, took the series back to its roots. Okay, so the atmosphere, for example. Now, I want you to put yourself in 2004. Now, this was before even I played World of Warcraft, but just for the sake of argument, put yourself in the year 2004 when, sure, close your eyes. Okay. Put yourself in the year 2004 when World of Warcraft first came out, and you had a single, massive, connected world that you were just dropped in the middle of with very little context, a short little narration, and you just look out into the distance and you know you're going to have an adventure. Legion brought that feeling back to me for the first time since I was a kid. All right. The detail, the sprawling nature of the environments, everything looks lived in and three-dimensional. And there's a certain, I guess, thickness is the right word to describe in regards to the yes, I know. In regards to the models and the
Psychotrip likes his video game stick.
Oh yeah, man.
Dick.
But anyway,
I got a funny story about that, but I'll save it for later.
Oh shit. But anyway, so the atmosphere is just stunning, huge, and it's dense too. It's not just like like size for the sake of size. There's density, there's
there
things
girth?
to do and see, and there's a lot of girth to what I'm trying to say is that World of Warcraft is a fucking thick, girthy experience, and everybody should take some Warcraft at some point in their life. But anyway, so the atmosphere is incredible. It's filled with secrets, details, all sorts of incredible stuff that immerses you into this world and really makes you feel like you're on another planet, going on an adventure, and you never know quite what's around the next corner. They've removed a lot of the mechanical bloat from the game. Now, I'm one of the people who thinks streamlining is a dirty word. I kind of brushed on that earlier, because it's become PR speak for dumbing down the game or removing stuff because it's too difficult for us to keep it in there and balance the experience. That's what streamlining really means now. But I mean genuine, actual streamlining, what streamlining should be, which is taking away stuff that doesn't add to the experience. And Legion, there's so much stuff that's just gone. That I'm glad is gone. And this actually started in, I think, Cataclysm, when they revamped the talent system. Now, a lot of my fellow Warcraft players will yell at me for this, but I think the new talent system is objectively better in every single way than the original one. Very simple reason why. The reason why is because the original talent system, it gave you the illusion of choice. There was no real choice. There was only ever one or two optimal build, and you'd go on a website, find the best build, or ask a friend who was a raider what the best build is, and then you just do that. There's more choice now, even though there's less branching paths and there's just a couple choices for each couple levels. You actually can choose between different things, and it's much better balanced. There's still often a best scenario, but now at least you as the player have some leeway in deciding what you want your character to be, how to express yourself into your character, which is what a role-playing game is supposed to be. They got rid of hit a few years ago. If you guys aren't used to RPG mechanic rules, hit or attack means the chance. It's a stat that alters the chance you'll actually hit your opponent. So instead of there just being a basic chance based on your level and their level or whatever of whether or not you'll hit or miss the enemy, there used to be their own stat that you had to build up as high as you can. Otherwise, no matter how good you were at the game, you weren't going to even hit the giant dinosaur boss that was right in front of your face. That didn't add anything to the game. That didn't give you compelling choices or make you think strategically. The only thing people did was they would stack hit gear until they reached what was called their hit cap, and then just go on with their lives. It was useless, a waste of time, a waste of money, and it added nothing. And Legion was kind of the epitome of this streamlining process that started in Cataclysm. And it was rocky at first because people had a lot of problems with Cataclysm and the stuff that they took away. And I understand that. But I really think Legion has made the game come into its own. It's brought the focus back to what World of Warcraft was initially intended to be, which is a game about exploration, adventure, and fighting bad guys. You know, you're actually in the game now, not doing math, not trying to figure out weird min-maxing strategies. You're in the game, fighting dragons, fighting dinosaurs, fighting monsters, exploring the world, experiencing the, endearing story. I'm not going to say it's a good story, but I happen to like it quite a lot because I always find the World of Warcraft to be very charming. And the last thing I'll say is that they really did well, which is also kind of in line with the streamlining thing, is that they brought flavor back to the game, man. Because at the same time as World of Warcraft was getting bogged down by all these different systems and mechanics, it was, excuse me, they were taking away a lot of the cool, fun stuff, what people call the fluff or the flavor, to make things more mechanically sound or balanced. Or again, it was the bad streamlining. They were bogging down the game while at the same time doing bad streamlining and taking stuff away just for fear of, frustrating really like players who don't really care about these things or what have you. So like, for example, class quests. those were always one of my favorite things in World of Warcraft. If you don't know what class quests are, it was basically every 10 or so levels, you would get a unique quest that nobody else who's of a different class gets in the game, that explores what your class is all about. You do a unique quest. You like if you're a warlock, for example, you would do some crazy rituals and find some reagents and stuff to summon your next demon, and that's how you get it. And you felt rewarded. For paladins and warlocks, actually, you could learn how to summon a unique mount, and it was always really hard and really difficult, but it was challenging, but it was rewarding, and you felt like you felt like you were part of a cohesive community of other warlocks and paladins who had gone through the same stuff you had, and it gave you your own unique experience. And they took that away years ago, and it was the first time I noticed them slowly eroding all of a lot of the little things that made the world feel so expansive and real and immersive in favor of, making things mechanically and mathematically sound, which it's not like you can't do both, which is what they've done in Legion. They've brought back a lot of the flavor. For example, they've brought back class quests in the form of order halls, which is basically every class gets their own unique little region, which is now that class's headquarters. That's cool. You, the player character, is now like the leader of like the shaman of the world or the warlocks of the world. And obviously there's a bunch of different player characters who assume that same role, but obviously, there's a difference between your personal story and what's actually, happening in the world. But anyway, so you get your own unique quests, you accrue followers, it's kind of like a much more freeform and less demanding version of the garrison quests in Warlords of Draenor, which people really didn't like. They really streamlined it in a good way and created these order halls, and all of a sudden you're meeting characters that you haven't seen in years. You're closing stories that have been open for years because, we have to focus on the next raid, or we can't go back here because this is a level whatever area and that would conflict with something. They found a way to balance with the world. And that might not mean that much to a lot of people, but for anybody out there who plays games for atmosphere and immersion as much as they do for graphics and gameplay, that was such a big deal for me that it really, like, all of this stuff put together really made Legion not only one of my favorite games of the year, but one of my favorite games ever. Like, I haven't felt this way about World of Warcraft since I first picked up World of Warcraft. I had lost that sense of wonder and excitement and a yearning for exploration that game had instilled in me. And now it's back, and I can't wait to see what they do next. I have nothing but good things to say about Legion, honestly.
Dude, that was really, really eloquent. I don't even know how to follow it up. It sounds like it's like the prodigal game has returned, like this game that you used to love for so many reasons, and kind of like straight away you guys kind of had your time apart, and now you're back to like what made you fall in love with it in the first place.
Exactly. That's what Legion is doing. It's taking what was great about, and I'm just so fascinated how they changed so much. The game is unrecognizable from what it was in vanilla. It's unrecognizable. But somehow in making it so different, they create, because everybody talks about vanilla and how great vanilla was. And vanilla sucked. Everybody who says that is wrong. They have nostalgia goggles. I'm exaggerating. If you really like vanilla, then by all means. But people really do have nostalgia goggles when it comes to vanilla, because they remember the great stuff. They remember that sense of exploration. They remember that more open-ended nature to the game. They remember when things were fun and mysterious and engaging, and not just about, like making sure you have the mechanics and the math and all that stuff down, not going to websites and looking up the best build. And Legion, because it's so different, they've managed to take the vanilla experience, or at least the stuff that mattered the most to me in the vanilla experience, and make it the way they would have wanted to make it when the game first out. That's when the game first came out. That's the sense that I get playing Legion, that this is the World of Warcraft they wanted to make in 2004, but they wouldn't even have conceived of ever being able to have done that. Because, I mean, 2004, it was janky. It just, the jank was real, man. Like, there was all sorts of dumb mechanics that didn't make sense, that didn't really add much to the game, even back then. But there was that charm that people remember. And now Legion has that charm back without the bad shit that nobody remembers because they just want to remember the good stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. But I just don't know how I'm going to follow that up. All right, I'll follow it up with one word. My number one pick. Ready?
I'm ready.
It's Doom.
I know. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Doom. Hold up. I got to do my demon voice. Doom. I can't do it. All right. Well, anyways, Doom 2016. It's the shit. And there's really only two things I want to talk about with this game. Although,
all right,
the immersion and the atmosphere and what you're saying, I'll just say it quickly. It kicks fucking ass. That's it. I'm going to use a lot of expletives to describe Doom because that's the kind of game Doom, that it is.
If you're not using expletives when you're talking about Doom, then something's wrong with you.
Ass. Two things that make the game my number one pick. The music, because it's Mick Gordon, who's done Killer Instinct and a couple other video game soundtracks. And actually, there's a great series, which I've mentioned before, called No Clip, and they had a whole episode, several episodes on this game. And specifically, they had a really long interview with the composer, Mick Gordon. And I just remember, I'm trying to think. I think I remember hearing the soundtrack before I played the game, just because I was playing some other game. It might have been Batman, and it might have been Witcher 3, Blood and Wine, when it came out. But I eventually picked it up in like around September. And I remember like the first encounter you have with the imps, and those guitars come in, and they're like, and you're like, oh shit! Like it is this, like it's like Star Wars. It's like the Star Wars soundtrack is the Star Wars, but for video games. Like where it doesn't just enhance it, it like makes the game. Like it is an integral part of the playing experience. Like shit is going down. Like most of the time you're exploring and it's kind of like ambient, creepy electronic stuff with a little bit of guitars and demon screams. But when combat kicks in, like the drop tune guitars come in and you're just like pumped. Like it's like viscerally engaging, both in terms of like trying to plan out how to attack the enemies and just the music. So what I'm saying is it's so critical. Like I cannot overstate the importance of the music in the game.
Yeah, just jumping in real quick. What you just described kind of reminds me of the conversation we had when we first met, about the importance of music in video games.
Our Elder Scrolls soundtrack episodes.
Yeah, this definitely actually ties into that.
Full circle.
Yeah, we come back home, man. But yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. The music in general can make or break a game or any form of entertainment that includes any audio.
Break as much as make.
I mean,
depends on if it's terrible.
Okay, it depends, because I'm thinking of you remember you're talking to the guy who watches Jim Sterling a lot, so
sure.
I've seen a lot of games that may have been mediocre if not for the blaring screeching in the music.
Yeah, that's true. But I do want to also do a quick shout out, just because I'm going back to my VGM roots, video game music roots. There's a lot of people that have done Doom covers that are pretty good. One guy does them especially well. His name's Billy the Bard, 11th. And I actually met him at MagFest Music and Gaming Festival this year. He's the sweetest dude, and he makes some just killer Doom covers. So if you like that soundtrack, I'm going to put a link to his channel or whatever, annotation. Not annotation, whatever the hell they call them now on YouTube. Cards, because you can't do annotations and end cards. I don't know.
That's so stupid. Why the hell we're getting off track? But it's just go check him out. More stupid YouTube bullshit.
Oh, yeah. We could do a whole nother episode on that. So anyways, music is super critical, super important. I love metal, so it's basically just like just took it over the top for me. The second thing is the combat. And I'm going to steal someone else's word where it's called combat chess. That term was coined or mentioned in the Doom interview that I mentioned earlier, the No Clip interview. I can't remember the guy's name. But anyways, So the best part of this game is quite simply the combat. Like the level design is fine, and it serves the purpose of putting you in situations where you are forced to think quickly, tactically, and to move quickly and tactically to take out enemies. Essentially, like they start you out with the imps, who they describe as pawns because they can kind of go anywhere and do anything, and they can put them in any kind of level structure because they can jump, they shoot like, projectiles and all that stuff. Then you start adding like the melee guys to jump in range. Like I felt like it was one of those games that had perfect difficulty ramping, where just when you started to feel comfortable, like, okay, I got this kick-ass shotgun, I'm gonna go fuck some demons up, because again, expletives with Doom, you gotta do it. I'm gonna go fuck some demons up, and then you see the pinky arrive that can just charge you, right? And you're like, holy shit, everything I thought is real is like rearranging. Now I'm not this badass that I thought I was. And then of course once the big fucking gun comes in, that's it really became they just added each enemy, and every time you felt like, okay, I got this, they would kick your ass. They would introduce a new enemy, or they put you in a situation where you're just kind of scrambling to survive. Aside from the final boss, who was just kind of a pain in the ass, I'm trying to think of like specific examples. I mean, it reminds me of like the Ratchet and Clank, and that's kind of an honorable mention because I really like that game too, the new one. But just there are moments when I'm playing the game and I'm like, if I had been playing this level, like if they had this level like a few levels before, I would have freaked out because I wouldn't have been able to handle this many enemies on screen, and I wouldn't have known, just keep moving. That is like the number one rule of Doom 2016.
Yeah.
You just keep moving. And even their melee system where you get health or ammo is directly tied into the movement thing. Like it is not what I like to call whack-a-mole shooting, which was really like the big thing.
I hate that shit.
And then the late 2000s, like with Killzone, unfortunately, and games like that where you just pop up, shoot people, pop down, pop up, shoot people. Like Call of Duty kind of did the same thing, kind of. But you know what I mean by whack-a-mole, where it's like enemies pop up, you shoot them from a distance. There's no like real movement, and Doom is like, fuck that. If you don't move, you will be dead. So I can't think of. I mean, it was a game that felt very video gamey, and I know that term sometimes used as bad. No, you're right. It can be a good thing, and in this case, it was, where it's just like, sit back, relax, have some fucking fun, shoot some demons, listen to some great music, and just, I think I played it on normal, and I'm sure I will go back through and play on higher difficulties. They have some collectibles that are fun, and I even liked the lore, but really just the combat, it made that game. And if you go look at those no-clip videos and look at the development of the game, it's incredible. It's incredible that they managed to put out the product that they did, because this was it right at the beginning of the whole Bethesda, no early review copies things. So a lot of people were thinking, oh, here we go, Duke Nukem Forever, Was it Duke Nukem?
Fuck.
Yeah, they were thinking it was going to be another Duke Nukem Forever, and I'm pretty certain that they were down to the wire with some of the story decisions. I think that was like the last thing to fall into place, but they got the core gameplay down perfectly, and they created a system that it never got old. I guess that's the best way to put it. That's why the game is my number one pick, because even with Uncharted 4 and Dishonored 2, there are points in the game where I'm like, I'm having fun, but it's not like Doom was just like a roller coaster ride from start to finish. It never was boring. It was never dull. I was loving every second of it. And like I said, every time I started to feel kind of comfortable with the mechanics and what they were throwing at me, they just like pulled the rug out from under me, and I was back to feeling like, holy shit, I have no. So that's my review of Doom 2016. Holy shit.
Just you write a whole review on it. All it is holy shit. Well,
exactly.
All right, so I guess that leads me to my number one.
Actually, it's the end of the episode. Thanks everybody for listening.
Oh no!
Quickly, one word review. I'm just teasing. Go ahead.
All right, so we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna, I guess, briefly talk about the upcoming games we're looking forward to. But
no, we're gonna do that in a separate episode. I've decided this is
really?
Almost an hour. We've almost been going for an hour, so we probably should do
this is pretty long. But yeah, so my number one game is kind of cheating, it's not, and it comes with a really huge caveat. So my number
I'm
one
gonna be mad
game
already.
yeah, you should be mad. The number one game of 2016 for me is Skyrim,
Oh my god!
with a major giant caveat.
That you're a tool.
Yes, but that's neither here nor there. No, that I'm using a very specific mod that should be the real number one contender, and it was updated in 2016, and also since I first decided on this, 2017. So I still think it counts in a really poorly explained, lazy way, which I'm just going to go with.
Just
So
what's the mod you're using? You don't have to justify it. I'm just curious.
it's called Ordinator, and what
Okay.
it does is, for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure most of you know, but just a quick recap of how Skyrim works at the basic level in terms of mechanics. The way you level up is centered on a perk system, kind of like in the Fallout games, where you level up, you pick a perk, and you get to use your abilities in a different way. Now, Skyrim really shat the bed in terms of basic RPG progression, in that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the perks were just raw damage increases, which nobody likes because that's just boring. And that should just be baked into, like, scaling should just be baked into, as your
Leveling
skill
up.
gets higher, you just do more damage, which is another reason why the game was so unbalanced, especially for Magic, because shit didn't scale. But
Mm-hmm.
Ordinator fixes all that. It something as simple as completely ramping up and changing the perk system completely changes the entire game, and in a lot of ways my entire opinion on it, though it doesn't fix the terrible story, but
Okay.
that's that takes other stuff. But what Ordinator does is very simple. It just changes the perks. It gives you way more perks. It changes them, and a lot of them are incredibly creative. For example, remember how useless speech was in Skyrim?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't even remember that that was a skill in Skyrim. But what if I told you that in Ordinator, not only does speech tie into your shouting, because you're fucking talking. I don't know why Bethesda didn't think about that, but also it gives you some bard-like abilities where you can play instruments for money. You can, as you get more powerful, you can play your lute, and that will entrance people to dance and stun them so that your companions can attack them. You get so charismatic and good at talking that you learn to talk to animals and tame any animal in the game. That will be your permanent companion until you release them and get another one. And that's just speech alone. You can, bribe guards to get out of any situation. You can invest in businesses so that they have more gold every time you sell stuff to them. And that's just one tree. Now, what if I told you that conjuration now becomes this really awesome, crazy, dark magic sorcerer route where you can summon multiple things, summon things almost permanently. Some of the perks have downsides because you've made like all these crazy pacts with Oblivion. Like, I have a perk where if I don't have something summoned, I get ridiculously weak and I start hearing whispering in my ear. And all sorts of creepy shit happens until I summon something again. But my summons are way more powerful, and everything I do is way more powerful when I'm near something I summoned. There's also little rituals you can do where if you add certain reagents to a body before you reanimate it, it's like 500 times stronger, 500% stronger, and lasts for 500% longer. So you can basically have your own little zombie companion for like several in-game days before having to reanimate something else. And again, that's just conjuration, and that's just one branch of conjuration. What if I told you restoration now involved all sorts of magic involving life? So also like disease magic and necromancy, which even in the lore, necromancy is described as kind of like a crossroads between conjuration and restoration. So it makes sense lore-wise. So like certain branches of restoration take you down more of like a necromancer path where you can combine that with your conjuration to, like, if you once you kill a bunch of people, a bunch of bad guys or bandits or whatever, you can reanimate them, or even if you don't reanimate them, you can cast a restoration spell on them that gives life to a magical disease that spreads to your enemies. And then if you reanimate them, that disease will be spreading with your reanimated creature, infecting any enemies you come in contact with. So you just do massive damage on a giant scale. And there's just so many different possibilities with this. And those are only the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Every single skill in Skyrim has been completely revamped from the ground up. It's become an actual, and I know this is going to sound mean, but you know my thoughts on Skyrim. It's become an actual game, an actual fun game where there's real choices and real options, and interesting stuff happens as a result of the way you progress your character. And I'm still finding new stuff, and I'm still discovering all sorts of weird and crazy new tactics and all sorts of stuff I can do. And it's completely revitalized the game for me. And in conjunction with a couple other mods, which I think it would be way too unfair to count all the mods I'm talking about, but I'll briefly just say this. In conjunction with a couple other really good mods that I have, it's honestly been occupying way too much of my time. And I'm not going to say I like Skyrim now, because I can't give Bethesda credit for stuff other people did.
I was just going to say, like, Skyrim is the greatest alpha that's been made in the past couple years. It's a great alpha.
You're going to piss off so many
people. It's a great alpha. No, it really is. I feel like Bethesda even, like, they showcase their mod community because they're like, oh, look at these great mods that are, like, essentially making this game more fun. I'm like, but you could have done that instead. And
see, that's what I wonder sometimes.
Because the thing is, if you play on console, like, if you were playing Skyrim on console for the majority until, like, Special Edition came out, I don't know how many mods are included. Like, unless you're playing on PC, you're basically cut off from a whole, like, the majority of the experience, which is modding it and fixing their own fucking mistakes.
Yeah,
like,
and
not just graphical problems, like you said, actual balance and skill-based problems.
Yeah, and Ordinator especially, because oftentimes I try not to, I mean, I have this argument in my head, but I try not to vocalize this argument that, you know, like, why didn't Bethesda do this? Because someone could easily say, oh, because it wouldn't work on consoles or whatever. But in the case of Ordinator, that's not a valid argument, because it's such a lightweight mod. That's the most interesting thing about it. It's such a small, it's so small. Like, it changes, like, in the grand scheme of things, it changes so little. You don't need a script extender to use it, which is what you need for most big mods. It takes, like, literally, like, maybe 2 seconds to download. It's incredibly small. It's just rudimentary changes. Everything is already in the game in some form. It's just altered stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that Bethesda, I mean, I hope they do something like that in the future, because it really makes you realize just how poorly made Skyrim was in a lot of ways. And I'm done, because I'm gonna piss off
audience.
I'm gonna piss off a lot of people, and this episode should be positive. So I'm just gonna keep talking about just how amazing Ordinator is. And if any of you guys aren't used to modding, or you mod a little bit but you're afraid of doing the big stuff, don't worry. This is the simplest mod. It's just a 1-button download if you have Mod Organizer. If you don't have Mod Organizer, please download it. It's incredibly simple. It's just press a button and you're done, and your mod's downloaded. So if you have Mod Organizer, all you got to do is press 1 button and you have Ordinator.
All right.
So I highly, highly recommend it. Go to Skyrim Nexus and look up Ordinator. Press that button and it'll be yours.
I'm going to link it in the description, so you don't even have to do that. You can be even lazier. You just have to have Skyrim on PC.
I mean, if you don't have Skyrim, then I can't really help you with that. But
yeah. Well, I have it on console, so I'm fucked.
It might be on. It might be, because it's a very small mod. It might be console compatible for the special edition or whatever.
See, I don't have special edition because I'm not going to pay $60 for the same fucking game.
It's free if you have the.
Do you? Is it?
I don't use it because it doesn't have like half the mods I like, and honestly, I don't. better than the original, but it is free if you have all the DLC if you have like the full entire Skyrim.
Oh,
free.
Okay, fair
like
enough.
you already have it on your Steam. If you had it on the PC, it'd already be automatically added, and you just install it whenever you want.
Fair
and
enough.
I'm pretty sure it works the same way on consoles.
Okay, well there you go. So one of us cheated and is a terrible person, and one of us actually picked 3 games from this year.
Hey, if you hadn't taken shit, I could have done The Witcher 3 after you switched it out.
What was the game you were going to pick?
It's too late. I mean, both Doom and The Witcher 3.
Did you play Blood
would
and
have
Wine,
easily
though?
be on.
No,
I would have just. Oh wait, when did The Witcher itself come out?
It didn't come out in 2016. This was just a DLC for it.
All right, then never mind. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
you
sticking
still need
with
to
mine
play the
regardless.
game. Maybe you should play the game before you start talking shit.
I wasn't talking shit. I'm just saying that, and Doom you have no excuse for, because if you hadn't picked Doom, then I could have picked Doom, and we wouldn't have had this little quote unquote cheating scenario that you're accusing somebody in this podcast.
I'm going to end this podcast before it gets ugly. All right, goodbye.
Before it gets ugly.
All right. See you.